Joe, is there a problem that needs fixing here? What do you think Gary Gensler's up to?
Well, I don't think there is a real problem. Now, when all this happened originally, and everything was blowing up, now I'm talking about Robinhood and the Citadel and Melvin Capital, I recommended then that the SEC definitely get involved, and if somebody did something wrong, they're supposed to be held accountable. And while you're going through this entire process, if you really truly do something great, but the SEC's job is to really try to protect the individual investor. So my suggestion is, if it's okay with the two of you, why don't we walk through exactly what happens to the individual investor and see to what extent there's a problem there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, do it. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, all right. So I'm the individual investor. I want to place a trade. I enter a trade. I hit go. That goes through the brokerage firm. It winds up going to a market maker. The market maker has a bid offer spread, right? That's a little bit of a spread between whether they would buy, whether they would sell, and they create a price, which has to be the best price in the marketplace. We guarantee the best price for the brokerage. They keep a piece of that for themselves, the market maker. Now, the brokerage firm then decides how much of that payment, that's the payment for order flow, how much of that payment they want to actually give to the client and actually improve that client's price, or how much they want to keep for themselves. Most of the time, they give the biggest chunk to the individual investor. In fact, at Schwab, 95% of all their trades are price improved. Now, and this happens instantaneously. Okay, so now I'm the individual investor. What did I just get? I got instantaneous execution. I got a guarantee that I got the best price in the marketplace. And by the way, I got price improvement most of the time, and this is for free. This is for free. That sounds like an incredible deal to me. All right, now, let's look behind the scenes. To get all this done, there's a gazillion dollars worth of technology. There's regulatory issues that got to be handled. That costs a tremendous amount of money. It's the payment for order flow that handles that. And that allows then the broker firm to charge zero commission to the individual investor. The individual investor is in good shape here. If they screw around with payment for order flow, then there's a possibility that the way to offset that, brokerage firms then start to charge commission.
What could be, Joe,
right now.
What could be the next best model?
I think this model works pretty well. Now, I know they're talking about an auction model. Well, depending on what they look at, depending on how that works, depending on what the data says, that's worth looking at. So I think all these things might be worth looking at. But there's so many things going on, I think, in terms of Wall Street. Think about what's done with SPACs that the SEC can be devoting more time and energy on. The individual investor, if that's who they're trying to take care of, has never had it better in the history of Wall Street. So now's not the time to fool around with that because that part's not broken.
Joe, do you think that there's something to be said for the fact that the SEC doesn't want mom and pop traders in the market, that they don't want that to happen because of the risk then that individuals can take?
Well, I don't know if that's their prerogative, though. No, so individuals have the freedom to be able to do what they want with regard to the market. Now, I don't think it would be a bad idea to make sure that there's better education provided with the individual investor. So if you go back to the meme craze, to what extent did the Wall Street help the individual investors understand their risk? So if you bought GameStop at 10, do you sell it at 20? Do you sell it at 40? Do you sell it at 200? Where do you sell it? What happens when the market turns around and starts to come down? Do you actually have leverage involved? So these are the things that I think the individual investor needs to understand. I don't think it would be a bad idea for the SEC to require better education where individual investors, for example, have to pass some sort of test if they want to be able to trade themselves with regard to the marketplace. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. That's got nothing to do with payment for order. That's a good idea, in fact. I think that would be good.
Joe, what does your gut tell you? Does your gut tell you that the SEC is going to take action here? Does your gut tell you that payment for order flow is on its way out?
No. That's when I began in Ameritrade in 2001. It was the first time I really became familiar with payment for order flow. And I thought then it might go away. But then I realized the impact that it positively had. And it never, ever was really, comes up all the time, but it was never challenged. And I think with what Gensler's doing now, it's making it so public. They're going to have to do something. Otherwise, I think he looks silly. But if they tamper with payment for order flow, they are fooling around with something that is not an issue for the individual investor, and they are creating far greater expenses for the brokerage firm and the Wall Street community. There's no good reason to increase the expenses on Wall Street. And if you do that, to what extent does Wall Street offset that? Do they now come back and now charge commissions? So I worry with that what they're trying to take care of, the individual investor, can easily have adverse circumstances, adverse impact.
Hey, Joe, last question here. If I'm Morgan Stanley and I own E-Trade, what am I thinking right now?
Well, I think all along, James Gorman and the people that actually run E-Trade, as well as all the other firms, they recognize that there may be an issue here. And this is something that they talk about every year when they're doing their strategic plan. But we don't know what's going to happen. So I don't think if I'm running E-Trade, I don't want to spend too much time worrying about something that I don't know which way it's going to go. But I have to have already created a system, both from a strategic perspective and a technology perspective, that I've got the ability to be able to adapt and adjust contingencies as they pop up. So if I get hit with something that's different than what it is today, I should be able to adapt and adjust